The following clip is presented to you by The Extreme Life of Matt Hardy, available every Friday wherever you get your podcasts and at extremehardy.com. Things are about to take a turn, though, as Jeff is on this upward trajectory. And during the March 3rd episode of Raw, he's on Chris Jericho's highlight reel as the special guest, but he ends up being attacked by Jericho, and he ends up dropping the Intercontinental Championship to him shortly after. The reason that happens? Jeff was suspended for 60 days the following week for his second violation of the company's substance abuse and drug testing policy. And it's significant because rumors had it that at WrestleMania 24 in Orlando, he was going to be the winner of the Money in the Bank ladder match and carry around that briefcase that would have put him on the door of winning the World Championship. Matt Fact or Matt Fiction, Matt, was Jeff going to win the Money in the Bank briefcase?
Matt Fact, yes, he was. That was the plan. He was going to win this Money in the Bank briefcase, and I think at this point they had pulled the trigger and decided they wanted to try and turn him into the champion. I know Freddie Prinze had been given this edict, like, get Jeff Hardy ready for the championship. That's like around the time too when he was starting to paint his face again, if I'm not mistaken. That they started leaning into some stuff that was very Jeff Hardy-ish, and Freddie Prinze was kind of leading that charge in many, many ways. But yeah, Jeff was in Mexico on an international tour, and at some point there, he ended up taking some sort of pill or substance for, I don't know if it was back or whatever it was, but he did end up getting popped in a drug test. And one of the things I remember he told me from the story is, like, Michael Hayes had called him at home and said, hey, like, what is going on here? I can't believe, you did all this and whatever. He said, Vince is going to call you in just a few minutes, all right? So be ready to answer the phone. And then I guess Vince called him, and Jeff's like, hello. And he's like, what the fuck have you done? That was his greeting right from the beginning, And I guess they talked it through. And at the end of the conversation, Jeff said they spoke for a while. They seemed to be kosher, and Jeff just apologized and regretted making that mistake. But, it was what it was.
How did you feel as his brother? Because keep in mind, you come back at that ladder match. We again covered that in the MVP episode. How do you feel as his brother, seeing him climbing that ladder so quickly, and now all of a sudden he has this major setback that could derail everything?
Right. It was very sad, disappointing, but it's also he's a human being, and he's had issues throughout his life with that. So it's one of those things. It doesn't mean that he has a terrible content of character. It means that he has, addiction problems, obviously. So just very disappointed, especially when he had so much good stuff going on professionally in his life at that time. So it was a very sad and disappointing setback for him.
Dave Meltzer had speculated that he was going to win the championship at SummerSlam. Do you remember hearing of any plans for something like that to happen?
That could be right in all reality, but I do know they were planning on having him win Money in the Bank, and they did want to pull the trigger on him winning a World Heavyweight title.
Whenever we do these Jeff episodes, I get people asking, well, let Jeff speak for himself. Why is Matt speaking for him? Guys, this isn't Matt speaking for Jeff. Like, that question that I just asked before, Matt's perspective of that, is because their lives are so intertwined professionally, and obviously personally, but professionally, where Matt has this unique front row perspective to some of this stuff. And I mean, for example, everything you just told us, that's a perspective that only you can offer. And that's why I enjoy doing these Jeff episodes, especially because Jeff is such an interesting, intriguing character. More than anything else, he is a case study in one of the most unique human beings to ever step foot in a squared circle.
Yeah. He's a case study in one of the most interesting human beings to ever be put on Earth. And the reason I guess I talk about these stories, I mean, Jeff will never talk about these stories. You're never going to see Jeff host a podcast. He's not a very public person. He's a very private person. He likes just doing his own thing, and he hates the internet and social media. He's not a big fan. He liked it when this stuff wasn't around. But it is what it is. He is such an intriguing cat, such just an amazingly interesting human being. So he is very fun to talk about, and he's just also just one of the most magical people an anomaly, one of the most interesting people you will ever find. He is truly one of a kind, more than anyone else I've ever known.
Did you believe after all this stuff transpired that he could still be a top guy?
I don't know. I mean, politically in pro wrestling, you never know what like an event like that, how much is going to set you back, or if you're going to be given another opportunity or whatnot. Um, I, I mean, I felt like at this point he was still going to be insanely popular and insanely over, and people still wanted to see him perform. So I guess it basically would end up coming down to how management reacted to him once he came back, and to see if they were just willing to give him another shot.